Throttle scaling is an adjustment that we can do on the throttle stick on your transmitter. The problem is a lot of new pilots find it difficult to bring the craft into a hover, into a stable hover, or even flying forward in level flight. And it's the feeling of having either too much throttle or maybe not enough throttle, and you're going up or you're going down, and you just can't seem to find the happy medium that keeps the quad in a stable hover, either when you're flying forward in stable flight or whether you're coming into land. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at what the setting is, what the throttle scaling setting is, and how to do it on the transmitter. So when flying a drone, you have to make fine movements on these sticks, in particular the throttle stick here. The difference between ascending and descending and being in stable flight may be less than a millimeter of movement on that stick. And for beginner pilots, this is where your motor skills come in. Your fine motor skills don't actually allow you to make that fine movement on the stick. And that's where throttle scaling can help. So throttle scaling can allow you to learn how to make that fine movement on the throttle stick, which can allow you to hover and also be in straight and level flight without ascending or descending. So to explain how this works, I'm going to use this piece of elastic here, and this is going to represent the scaling on the throttle stick. Let's have a look at it. Okay, so here is 100% throttle. Okay, so this piece of elastic here is 100% of our throttle. Let's put it like this. Okay, so that represents down the bottom here at 0%. So we'll put a little 0% there, 0% throttle. And all the way up the top here, we're going to represent that up here as 100% throttle. Okay, and of course, in the middle here, we're going to have 50% throttle, and here we'll have 75% throttle. Okay, so at the moment, we've got our throttle going 100%. Okay, just imagine around about here you have a hover band. A hover band is a range of throttle settings at which the quad is going to hover. Okay, I'm just going to make it a little bit thicker than it normally would be, just so we can see it. And we're just going to mark it here. Okay, that's actually the width of the throttle band. So what we can do with throttle scaling is we can actually cut, just say we cut the top 25% off the throttle. Well, now you only have 75% of your throttle left. Okay, you're not going to reach 100% throttle. The maximum you're going to reach is 75% throttle. But what we can do with throttle scaling is we can actually spread that over the full throttle range. Okay, so now 75% of our throttle is covering the full range of the stick travel. And you can see what's happened with our hover band is firstly moved up a little bit, but more importantly, the hover band is actually a bit wider. So compared to this here, you can see it's gotten wider. Okay, let's have a look at another example. Let's actually cut the throttle in half. Okay, so there we go. We've only got 50% of our throttle to use. But let's stretch, with throttle scaling, we can stretch that 50% over 100% of the throttle stick movement. Okay, and we'll have a look at the throttle band, the hover band, sorry, again. And we can see how big the hover band is now. So what this does is, this actually allows you to pinpoint a point in that hover band where the quad will actually hover well. And it's easier to do that because the hover band is wider. So what we say is that the hover band has more resolution, and that's why it's easy to get that exact spot that you need in the hover band. So let's look at how to set this up on the transmitter. I'm using the X-Lite transmitter, and it's running OpenTX, so if your transmitter is running OpenTX2, you should be able to just follow along. Of course, your transmitter, if it's not the same as this transmitter, you'll have different buttons to push to go through the menus. However, I'm just going to assume that seeing you've already set up your quad, you'll know which buttons to use on your transmitter to navigate through the menus. So let's have a look at this. Alright, so let's have a look at how we do the settings on the transmitter. Now, first of all, what we're going to do, I'm just going to show you the switch that I'm going to be using. So we're going to assign the 3 throttle scaling options to this switch here. It's a 3-position switch. Okay, so you'll just have to identify a switch on your transmitter that you can use. Okay, we're going to go across to the screen called Inputs. Okay, and here you've got your 4 control channels and any auxiliaries that you've got set up. So we'll go back to the one at the top, throttle. And what we're going to do, first of all, I'm going to edit this throttle. And the reason I'm going to do this is because I want to give it a name, something meaningful, so we can distinguish them. Okay, so we're calling that throttle 100. Okay, of course the source is throttle, the weight is 100, and we don't have offset. Okay, you can see this by moving the throttle. You can see the cross there moving up the line all the way from 0 to 100%. Okay, another thing we're going to do, we're going to assign the switch. Okay, so we're just going to highlight this, and with that highlighted, I'm going to use this switch and I'm just going to move it to the up position. So for me, fully up will be 100% throttle scaling, well, standard throttle. Okay, so that's set there. Okay, let's just go back. Okay, so now you can see we've got the name there, throttle 100%. And what we're going to do is we're going to long press and choose Insert After. Okay, so if I just go back here, you can see where it's put the new one directly below the throttle. Okay, we'll long press and we'll edit that. So once again, we're going to name it. Okay, so we're calling it throttle 75. The next one down, we come to the source, and we're just going to set it to throttle. Okay, you can see if we move our throttle, you can see the line, the cross moving on the line there. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to reduce the weight. Okay, but I'm just going to alert you to something. You remember we set this switch here to the other throttle, and let's just have a look if we adjust the weight. As we pull the weight down, we expect to see this line changing. Okay, it will actually go this way a little bit, but we're not. Okay, and the reason is because of this switch here. We've got it set in the up position, which is for the other throttle setting. So if I drop it down to the middle, you can see what's happened to our line now. Okay, and as we go down, the line flattens out. Okay, so just remember the switch up the top here. Okay, if you've got that on the other throttle setting, you're not going to see this line changing. Okay, so let's move this up to 75% there. Okay, now the line at the moment, it's been cut down to 75%. So this is throttle scaling at 75%. And we've cut off the top, 12.5%, and the bottom 12.5% down here as well. So now, what we actually have to do is we have to do the offset. And we're going to offset it. You can see the line moving down there. We offset it by 25%. So now if we move the throttle, we can see coming right up, the throttle stick is up to the plastic. Okay, it's at 100% throttle according to the throttle stick, but we're actually only on 75% throttle. So there's our scaling there. Okay, so the next thing to do is to assign our switch. Okay, up the top here, I'm going to set my switch to the middle position. Okay, I'm going to flick that. Okay, make sure it's flashing. Okay, there we go, set to the middle position. Okay, we'll just move our throttle. We can see 100% and 0 down here. Okay, let's just go back. Right, so let's go up, there's our 100%, there's our 75%. Okay, let's just long press this one and we'll make a copy of this one. So we'll actually just do Insert After. Yeah, it's easier. Okay, so once again the name. Okay, so there we go. We've called it throttle 50%. The input source is going to be throttle once again, and you can see if we just go down here to the weight, now once again, the switch up to the top here, okay, this is set in the middle position, which is our 75%, so we're going to flip it down to the bottom position, which is going to be used for this one. Now we can see the line goes from top to bottom. Okay, the weight is going to go down to 50%. So basically we're using throttle scaling to get half of the throttle. And once again, we're going to offset it by the same amount, 50%. Okay, so it starts at 0 down here, and you can see the cross moving up the line to 100% throttle according to the stick position, which is actually 50% throttle when we see it on the line there. Okay, one more thing we need to do, the switch. Select our switch and move our switch to the bottom position again. Okay, and you can see that set the switch there. Okay, so we'll just go back, scroll up a bit so we can see them all. So we've got throttle 100%. I'll just flip this switch up to the top and you can see 100%. The middle is 75% and the bottom is 50%. Okay, so there's our 3 throttle settings. Okay, so that's how we set up throttle scaling. But remember, this is not a forever setting. This is just like a crutch to help you learn the fine motor skills that you need to move that throttle stick just a tiny little bit. So you might start off on the 50%, and then after maybe a week or two, move up to 75%, and then once you're happy with that, move up to 100%. But of course the aim is for you not to be using throttle scaling at all. The aim is for you to be using 100% throttle, and it's just basically to train you, to allow you to get that fine motor skill to get the throttle in the right position. There we go. Oh, you're still here. You made it to the end of the video. Well, you know what to do. Click the button,